He can cook a shoe and it'll taste delicious. You don't even have to bring your own, he says. And that's neat. It's Tom White. This is Teaching to the Test Pattern.
Hey, buddy, welcome to Teaching to the Test Pattern. That beautiful voice you just heard is none other than Josh Jensen, great friend of mine, and the guest on today's show. Today's show is super cool because it's the first part of a 3-part series with Josh. In this episode, we're going to talk about Josh's journey and how he came to be what he is, how he went from a kid in Florida to ending up in Milwaukee and LA, and now he's in Nashville where he works for the Mix Group out of Miami and how all that works. We're going to talk about how after you get blown out from a job or your job's eliminated, how people treat you differently. He's going to bring that up and talk about that. Before we get started, though, I want to thank our sponsor, schoolvideonews.com, where right now you can go read an article from a very special young lady, Jamie Landers. She's at the Arizona State University Walter Cronkite School of Journalism, and Jamie talks about just what it's like at Walter Cronkite and just what she's experienced, and she talks about some of her internships and all of the lessons that she is learning at ASU. So make sure you check that out right now, schoolvideonews.com. Again, great articles for really anything you want in video production in the education space. There's product reviews, book reviews. There's all kinds of articles about what to expect in the classroom, best practices, and that type of thing. So without any further ado, I want to introduce you to my friend, my buddy, my pal. My kids call him Pookie because that's just what he is. If you describe someone in one word that is a nickname, he is Pookie. So Josh Jensen is an audio genius, and we're going to talk about what his career path has been so far, how he got where he is, really everything from start to finish. So without any further ado, here is my chat with Josh Jensen.
Teaching to the Test Pattern.
For me, one of the coolest things about you is the fact that, dude, you've worked everywhere. Like, so let's start with just a quick rundown of where you've worked.
So it's fun. Like, if you want to go where I've worked, I've done 27 radio stations for iHeart. A couple outside the company that they didn't know about at the time. I was helping some friends out. And then I've done 3 syndicated shows. I worked for myself, which I'm doing now, and I'm working for the Mix Group, which is a huge production company out of Miami. And they let me work from my home studio. So that's pretty fun. But I've lived, like, doing radio. I've lived in Ocala, Gainesville. That's like one of the markets. Then I moved to Milwaukee. Then after Milwaukee, I moved to Atlanta, where we work together. Yep. And then Tampa, then Los Angeles, and now Nashville.
Gotcha. So first off, how do you go from Gainesville to Milwaukee? Like, how does that happen?
Oh, fun story. So I was program director for 2 radio stations, production director and imaging director for the cluster. And I was doing afternoons on the country station and middays on an oldie station. And my boss goes, "Hey, you got 2 weeks to find a job. Because I have to kick you out of the nest. You've got as far as you can go, and you need to find a new job." And I'm like, "What?" I thought I was doing good. I thought everything was fine. He goes, "Everything's fine. You're just going to be stuck here if you don't leave. You've been here 5 years. You've reached the ceiling. This is as far as you're going because you're not taking my job." Like, here we go. So 2 weeks later, Carrie Wolf in iHeartRadio Milwaukee was like, "Hey, why don't you move up here?" And I was there.
Gotcha. I still can't get used to iHeartRadio. I like calling it. I mean, it was Clear Channel or whatever for so long. Right? I still, I go, "Oh yeah, I work for Clear." I mean, it's now iHeartRadio.
That's exactly what I just about did.
Yeah. So how did you get started?
So I was in TV production in high school, and I was in TV production in my actually 9th through senior year. So my sophomore year, or as they say on Jeopardy, sophomore year, I went and did the Groundhog Job Shadowing Day, and it's on February 2nd. You go to do job shadow any job that you want, and I was like, man, I want to do radio. So I went to 102.3 WTRS in Ocala, Florida, and did some stuff with the morning show, and I was like, this is it. This is what I want to do. And they were like, all right, senior year, go in, and they're like, what do you want to do this year for your job shadow day? And I was like, I want to do radio again. And they were like, you can't. So I was like, cool, I want to do TV. So I signed up for the TV thing, and I didn't go. I didn't show up to the TV thing. I went to the radio station and knocked on the door.
Yeah.
And like, you're not supposed to be here. We have kids here already. And I was like, I don't want to do that. This is what I want to do. And they were like, okay. So they hired me that day.
That's awesome.
They told me I had 40 hours to learn how to run remotes, how to do commercials, how to do this. And I was like, I already kind of know how to do it all. So they took me 20, and I was like, what do you want me to do now? And he was like, show me how to do this stuff. So I showed him, and he's like, dude, you're hired. You're our guy. So I worked my way up from doing remotes to setting up remotes and doing everything, and then I wound up running the radio stations.
It's so funny how that happens, because that's how I got started. I just was a remote kid, and I'll be honest with you, I just wanted money for the weekends, and then and broke out of that and ended up doing the marketing side. So what's been the best part of the Josh Jensen career journey?
It's funny because when you sent me the thing that we were talking about, I was like, there's no one thing. And the best part of the journey is the journey. And if I would have thought about this earlier, there would have been a lot more things I would have done different, because I always focused on what's next instead of what's right now, because that's how we're taught, what's next? What are we doing next? What are we thinking about next? And if I would have sat there and just enjoyed the ride a little more instead of worrying about what my next job is going to be, or how do I get to that next the next little rung in the ladder, things would have been totally different.
Yeah.
But the actual journey for it is the best, because we always can. It's always weird being a human, because you're like, oh, if I can just get this, I'll be happy. But once you get that, you're always focusing on the next thing and not what you really wanted. Does that make sense?
No, it makes perfect sense. Contentment's tough, man.
Yeah, man. Oh, yeah.
Especially in that industry, because you're always watching other people and listening and see what they're doing. You're like, oh man, I wish I'd have done that.
Yep.
So the converse of that, what's been the worst part?
The worst part would have to be, I don't think there is one. Other than watching your friends like get let go or whatever, it's all part of growing. It's like me losing my job. Well, me getting my position getting eliminated could have been the worst thing, but now it's forced me to do my own thing. So it's not bad. Did it suck? Yeah, it sucked. The only thing that sucked about it was the ego blow. Like I'm good. I'm in LA. I'm an LA producer. This is great. Hey, we're letting you go. And I just went, oh, it just sucked. It was a sucker punch to the ego, but that was it. None of it was the worst.
Gotcha. And that situation, I mean, you talk about watching friends go. I always felt like, because of my size, I was the guy who had to carry the box. And that's still, I mean, I tell my students that all the time. I'm like, guys, the holidays in radio are the worst. And I'm like, you literally could get called into a room with 30 other people, and they go, hey, you're no longer needed. And it's just, and my kids, I try to make sure they understand that.
What's funny about that, let me touch on, my position got let go, but I'm still at the company part-time, which is really weird, I guess.
So it's like an ex-girlfriend that you still hang out with.
Exactly. I'm back in the friend zone.
Yeah. So let's go day to day. Like, tell me about what a day in your life is.
Oh, that's fun. So my wife, she works at Home Depot, and she gets up at 5 a.m. She's been getting up at 3 because we're getting some overtime or whatever. So I get up with her, and I just start my day then, So it's get up, pound some pre-workout, go to the gym, do the gym thing, come home, shower, and kind of see what my day's like. Like check my to-do list, what I have to do for the company, what I have to do for the mixed group, what I have to do for my VO stuff, and kind of go from there. And then I eat a lot.
So you list, what you do for the company, the mixed group, that kind of, in the VO. So you're really kind of juggling. While you're not truly freelance, you're juggling like a freelancer.
Yes, exactly. I have so I produce stuff for the mixed group, so they'll send me my daily to-do list, and I just knock that out. And then the people that I voice for send in their scripts, and I cut that as soon as it gets in. Or the commercial company that I work for that just sends me scripts for their commercials, cut that, knock that out, like when I'm doing my mixed group stuff, I guess. And then I do my marketing for my website, I do my emails, stuff like that.
Gotcha. So the hustle is, even though you've been in the industry forever and ever and you've got all these accolades, you still have to hustle just like you've always had to do.
It's funny, like once you kind of get let go, people don't talk to you. I don't know what it is. I don't know if they're like, oh, he's got the fire herpes or whatever. I don't know what it is, but it's, they just stop talking to you. And the random people that you thought were your friends or not, or if they are, they're scared to talk to you. I don't know what it is, but then you have to re-hustle their friendship back. Bosses from back in the day, some of them might not talk to you, some of them do, so you got to keep those friendships still going. You have to make new friendships with people who used to be your enemies.
Gotcha.
Guess, I had to tell Leslie Fram I'm sorry.
Yeah, those were the fun days.
This is Teaching to the Test Pattern.
There you have it, Josh Jensen, part 1, where he talked about just kind of everything that happened to him to get him to where he is today. Made a joke there about a former, I guess foe would be the best descriptor. She was the program director for a station that we programmed against in Atlanta, and there was a lot of blood there, and it was interesting and fun. But when it comes to radio, those are the fun times. Those are the things that people love and remember, especially if you are, if you're involved in those things. So I want to thank Josh for that. I want to thank you for listening. Look out for episode 2 or part 2 of this series coming out in the next day or so. I think I'll probably get it done and get it out to you. We're going to talk about where his creativity comes from. We're going to get it nerdy, talk about what softwares he uses and those type things. So make sure you look for part 2 of this talk with Josh Jensen here on Teaching to the Test Pattern. Again, thank you so much for listening, and go out and make some awesome today.